Beyond the Mind, a practical guide to experiencing higher consciousness. The problem. You know what's ironic? You can know everything about higher consciousness and still never experience it. You can read every book, understand every concept, quote Eckhart Tolle, explain Jung's archetypes, describe the nature of awareness with perfect clarity, and still be completely trapped in your mind, thinking about consciousness instead of being conscious. I know because I spent years doing exactly that. I had a spiritual library that would make a monastery jealous. I could discuss non-duality at dinner parties. I understood the theory perfectly, and I was absolutely miserable. The mind is brilliant at learning about transcendence. It's terrible at actually transcending, because the mind trying to experience higher consciousness is like an eye trying to see itself. It's the wrong tool for the job. Today, I'm going to share something different. Not concepts about consciousness, but doorways into direct experience. These aren't theories to understand, they're practices that work, drawn from four of the most profound teachers of consciousness: Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle, Carl Jung, and Ramana Maharshi. This is the guide I wish someone had given me 10 years ago. Part 1. Understanding the Territory. Why the mind can't get there. First, we need to understand why thinking about consciousness doesn't create the experience of consciousness. Alan Watts explained it with perfect clarity. The mind is a tool for survival, for problem solving, for navigating the world of objects and time. But consciousness itself isn't an object. It's not something that exists in time. So the mind, when it turns toward consciousness, does what it always does. It creates a concept, a mental representation, and then you're stuck experiencing the concept, not the reality. Watts used the analogy of a menu and a meal. You can study the menu all day, memorize every dish, understand the ingredients perfectly, but that doesn't feed you. The map is not the territory. The description is not the experience. Eckhart Tolle adds another layer to this understanding. He points out that the mind exists in time. It's always in the past or future. Consciousness exists only now. So when the mind tries to grasp the now, it immediately converts it into a memory or a concept, pulling you out of the direct experience. The mind is thinking about being present while presence is already here, underneath the thinking. The four gateways beyond mind. Each of our four teachers discovered a different gateway beyond the mind. Not theories about the gateway, but actual passages through. Ramana Maharshi gave us the practice of self-inquiry, the direct investigation into the nature of the self. Not philosophizing about the self, but asking, "Who am I?" and following that question into direct recognition. Carl Jung revealed the descent into the unconscious, engaging with symbols, dreams, and the shadow through active imagination, experiencing the depths of psyche rather than analyzing them from the surface. Alan Watts taught us the way of letting go, of non-resistance, of seeing through the illusion of the separate self, not through belief, but through direct insight into the nature of experience itself. Eckhart Tolle showed us the power of presence, the portal of the now that exists in every moment, accessible not through achieving a special state, but through recognizing what's already here. What makes these teachings sacred is that they all point to the same recognition through different doors, and today you're going to walk through each one. Part 2. The Practical Transmissions. Now we move from understanding to experience. What I'm about to share are not things to think about later. These are practices you can do right now as we go. Gateway 1. Ramana Maharshi's self-inquiry. Maharshi spent his entire teaching life pointing to one simple practice. Ask yourself, "Who am I?" and investigate the one who's asking. But here's what most people miss. This isn't an intellectual question. You're not supposed to answer with thoughts. Let me guide you through this right now. Pause for a moment. Take a breath. Now ask yourself, who am I? Notice what happens. The mind immediately wants to answer, I am a person who dot, dot, dot. I am someone who believes dot, dot, dot. I am this body, this story, dot, dot, dot. But before those answers arise, there's a moment of not knowing. Stay there, in that gap before the answer. Now ask again, who is asking this question? And then, who is aware of the question? What Maharshi discovered is that when you genuinely investigate, you can't find the separate self. You find thoughts about a self, memories of a self, sensations in the body. But the actual, separate, independent me that you think you are, it's not there. What is there is awareness itself, consciousness, already present, already whole, not lacking anything. Practice instruction. Do this daily for 5 minutes. Not to achieve something, but to recognize what's already present. Sit quietly, ask, who am I? And keep investigating past every answer the mind provides. The recognition happens in the looking, not in finding an answer. Gateway 2. Jung's active imagination. Jung discovered something profound. The unconscious speaks in images, not words. The deep psyche doesn't communicate through concepts, but through symbols, dreams, and autonomous figures that emerge when we learn to listen. Active imagination is different from visualization. You're not creating or controlling the images. You're entering into dialogue with what emerges from the depths. Here's how to begin. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take a few breaths to settle. Now, instead of trying to empty your mind, allow an image to emerge. Don't force it. Wait for it. It might be a figure, a landscape, a symbol, an animal. Just notice what appears. Once something appears, engage with it. You can ask it questions. Who are you? What do you want? What do you have to show me? This is crucial. The responses won't come as thoughts you generate. They come as spontaneous images, feelings, movements. The figure might transform. The landscape might shift. You're not controlling it. You're witnessing and participating. Jung called this giving the unconscious a chance to make itself heard. You're experiencing layers of consciousness that exist beyond the rational mind. Practice instruction. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes in a quiet space. Enter active imagination without agenda. Record what emerges in a journal immediately after. The images carry wisdom that reveals itself over time. This isn't entertainment, it's communion with the deeper self Jung spoke about. Gateway 3. Watts's Art of Letting Go. Alan Watts realized that most spiritual effort is backwards. We try to force ourselves to let go. We work hard at being spontaneous. We make ourselves try to stop trying. He saw that the separate self is like a tightly clenched fist, and you can't use that same fist to pry itself open. Let's experience this directly. Right now, wherever you are, clench your fist tightly. Feel the tension, the effort, the holding. Now, try to relax your fist, but notice you're using effort to relax. You're doing relaxation. Feel that subtle tension even in the attempt to let go. Now, simply stop clenching. Not by doing something, but by ceasing to do. Feel the difference? This is Watts's great insight. The separate self, the ego, is something you're actively doing every moment. It's a continuous clenching of consciousness. And you can't do your way out of doing. You can only stop. Moment-to-moment practice. Throughout your day, notice where you're clenching. Where are you holding tension in your body? Where are you gripping in your mind, trying to control, to manage, to maintain? Then, just for a moment, stop clenching. Not by relaxing, which is another doing, but by simply ceasing the effort. Return to this dozens of times per day. This is how consciousness recognizes its natural, effortless state. Gateway 4. Tolle's Portal of the Present. Eckhart Tolle's teaching is radically simple. Higher consciousness is available right now, not after years of practice, not when you're more evolved, now. The mind resists this simplicity. It can't be that easy, it protests. But that resistance is itself the mind, pulling you out of now into thought about now. We're going to enter the present moment together. This practice is deceptively simple, but it's a complete doorway. Right now, as you hear these words, notice that you're aware. Don't think about awareness. Just notice it's present. Now, bring your attention to your breath, not controlling it, just feeling it. The actual sensation of breathing. Notice that before you can think, I'm breathing, there's the direct sensation. That's the now. That's presence. Now, expand your awareness. Notice sounds without naming them. Notice sensations in your body without judging them as comfortable or uncomfortable. Notice visual impressions without commentary. What Tolle discovered is that the now is not a moment in time. It's the dimension underneath time. It's the space in which all experience happens, including thoughts about the past and future. And you are that space. You're not in the now. You are the now experiencing itself as a human form. Here's the practice that changes everything. Set random reminders throughout your day, on your phone, on post-it notes, whatever works. When they appear, stop for 10 seconds and do exactly what we just did. Notice you're aware. Feel the breath. Sense the aliveness in your body. Rest as presence. That's it. 10 seconds, multiple times per day. These moments accumulate. They dissolve the trance of constant thinking and reveal the consciousness that was always here. Part 3. Integration and the Path Forward. Bringing it together. Here's what's beautiful. These 4 gateways ultimately lead to the same recognition. Maharshi's self-inquiry reveals consciousness prior to the separate self. Jung's active imagination reveals consciousness beyond the rational mind. Watts's letting go reveals consciousness as natural, effortless being. Tolle's presence reveals consciousness as the now. They're not competing paths. They're complementary doorways, and you'll probably find 1 or 2 resonate more deeply with you right now. Start there. But remember, and this is crucial, these practices are not about achieving higher consciousness in the future. They're about recognizing the consciousness that's already present. Every time you do them, you're not climbing towards something. You're falling into what already is. The mind will resist. Here's what will happen. You'll try these practices and the mind will say, nothing's happening. This isn't working. I don't feel anything special. That's perfect. That's exactly what should happen. Because the mind is looking for an experience it can grasp, measure, and turn into an achievement. But consciousness isn't an experience. It's what experiences are happening in. As Watts would say, you're looking for your glasses while wearing them. Keep practicing anyway. Not to get somewhere, but because the practices themselves are consciousness exploring its own nature. And gradually, or sometimes suddenly, there's a shift. You're not doing the practice. The practice is happening. Consciousness is recognizing itself. The invitation. So here's where we are. You now have 4 direct paths beyond mind. Not theories, but actual practices. The question is, will you actually do them? Or will you collect this information, add it to your mental library, and keep thinking about consciousness instead of experiencing it? Because that's the real test. The mind loves spiritual knowledge. It resists spiritual practice. Here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Choose one of these 4 gateways, whichever one resonated most deeply. Commit to practicing it daily. Not perfectly, just consistently. Maharshi's inquiry, 5 minutes each morning. Jung's active imagination, 15 minutes 3 times this week. Watts's letting go. Notice clenching 10 times throughout each day. Tolle's presence, 10-second presence breaks every 2 hours. 7 days, 1 practice. Direct experience. But right now, right this moment, you have everything you need. The gateways are open. Consciousness is waiting to recognize itself as you. Will you walk through, or will you just think about walking? The choice is always now.